I've loved music all my life, and I had a couple of cousins that used to write down the words to some of the old swamp pop songs for me, and I started singing that probably when I was 9 or 10. When I started playing music, I met a friend of mine from Ville Platte, Mike Tate, well-known accordionist. He's deceased now, but and I met him at Ville Platte High, and that's when I started playing with him. And one thing led to another. We started a rock and roll band, and then I got out of it for a while. Then I started playing an instrument because I had never played an instrument. I just sing. And then I started playing an instrument when I was about 23. And that led into playing some country music, which led into I had to do some Cajun stuff too. So then when Cajun got real hot, then we went all Cajun with a little bit of old country. And it's been a fun ride. First one we played in, was a rock and roll band, but we were teenagers then. And we were doing like everything from, the Rolling Stones, the Animals, the Beatles, that kind of stuff. So it just, we're not any different than any other musician probably in South Louisiana. We've all played a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then I got really involved in Cajun when I started writing Cajun music. And Mr. Floyd, so I wanted to just write. I didn't want to be an artist. I just wanted to write songs. And Mr. Floyd said, Swallow from Ville Platte said, if you're going to be an artist, a songwriter in Cajun music, he said, there's not enough sales because it being an ethnic music, He said, you're not going to have enough sales for it to make money writing songs. So you're going to have to play it. So that's when I started recording. And we just kept doing it throughout the years. We were teenagers when we were doing rock and roll. It was just a bunch of kids playing rock and roll music. And then after that, I quit playing rock and roll music. And then when I was about 23, I started playing guitar, learning to play guitar. And then I was into country, listening to country, so I started playing country. But I always loved Cajun music. So when we played our country, we always played, Jolie Blonde or Chateau and something like that. But then when the Cajun music came back a little bit stronger, probably in the late 70s, it really got a big kick by a lot of young people getting involved in it. And so we kind of transitioned into more Cajun, and we were playing probably half and half. And then we got into playing 3/4 of it. Now we do maybe 5 country songs in a night, if we do that many. Some nights we won't do it at all, So it's more, now it's all Cajun. But that comes from my radio, my speaking French. I live and breathe Cajun every day, And my liner notes in my last CD, I have a place that I wrote a quote saying, remember to speak Cajun French because it's who we are. Every day. If we don't talk it, then we're going to lose who we are. But the music has been, a big part of my life. I've done radio for 27 years. I've done my own recording studio, my publishing company, my record labels. I've produced 60 somewhat CDs on other people. So it's like I said, it's been a fun ride. I play guitar, rhythm guitar. I can't play a fiddle, I can't play an accordion, can't play a lick, a lead on my guitar. I can strum chords. And there's a funny story to that, because when I wanted to play so bad to learn so I could write my songs. And most songwriters will tell you don't have to have a great ability to play. You just have to know a few chords to where you can put the song together. So I prayed to God that I could learn how to play, and I could learn 5 or 6 chords. And He's got a sense of humor. God does, because He gave me those 5 or 6 chords, and after that, that's all He gave me. But that's all I asked for. So whenever you pray, make sure you pray for enough, because He will answer you. I've had the opportunity to play with some people that have helped me, just to come sit in. Not just sit in, but if my accordion player couldn't come, or something, I could hire different guys. I've had some, Mr. Joe Bounsell, which is Joe Bounsell and the Orange Playboys, which is a legend, and he came and helped me out in actually Monroe. We drove all the way to Monroe to play, and the one thing that I'm probably the most proud of is because of where me and your dad grew up in the Alonso Pie, Point Blue area. There were 4 fiddle players there. Norris Beauboy Fontenot, Roy Fontenot, Alan Teelan Ordoin, and Gervis Stanford, which were all older than me. But I knew them because they all lived in that area. And all of them played music, played fiddle with bands. And through my years of playing, I've had the opportunity to have them play with my band for a while, each one of them. So that was, to me, because I looked up to them, and so I was able to have them in my band for a while, all of them. But it's all those, we all knew them, we grew up with them, and, so whenever I got to play with them, it's like I was playing with my, with my, people that inspired me to play music, A couple of them have, have some classics that what I call, and what they call in Cajun music classics, like Mom Tell Me and the old Kiowa song Cayette. That's, and then I've had one of my songs, The Life of a Cajun, that was used in a Popeye commercial in the Houston metro, area. So there's some of that stuff that some of them did click and we're able to use, so I'm proud of all those things that we've accomplished from not being a major group traveling all around the world. We have gone some places, but music-wise, it's probably Mom Tell Me, because that's the song that's still, after I recorded it in 1984, and I released a new album in February this year, and it's back. I put it back on there again, because that's the one that's that, and there's so many of them that we did, that we run through, and there's some old classics that I've redone, but that one sticks out, and the Little Life of a Cajun one is the one that I probably made more money on, because that's the one that Popeyes paid me to use, so, We played in France. We went on it was a 9-day tour in the city of Niort, France, which is about the size of Alexandria. And when we got there was like, I think 5 people that spoke English in that city. And we stayed there for 9 days. It was kind of like the World's Fair that was here in New Orleans. We played that in '84, but in France it was similar to that, because everything that was in Europe was there in that fair. And we played in a pavilion where they actually had a bayou running in the pavilion. They man-made bayou in the pavilion where we played, and there was a restaurant, and we played in there, and we played for the Prime Minister of France while we were there, because we stayed in that city for 9 days, and we did like 5 shows a day. We went as a group of musicians, cooks, and artists. And I'm proud to say I got to go because of my Alonso Pie French, because they wanted me to be able to speak French with them. So that was one of the reasons I was asked, not for my musical abilities so much.
And how was conversing in French with them?
Very good.
Really?
Yeah. It was, you have to slow them down, you have to ask them to use another word, because naturally it's not word for word, and it's a little bit more, it's more Parisian, than what we are, our little slangs that we throw in and cut here and there, But the funny thing is that I did a lot of TV interviews there, a lot of radio interviews, And everybody asked, I tell them, I said, don't put me in a bond, because I said, I don't read or write French. I said, I can speak it, but I can speak our French. And everybody that I did an interview with said, well, you speak a very good French, because you speak the old French. They said, we're the ones that messed it up. And there was a place called the Poitou area. If you listen to those people speak, they speak like we speak in Evangeline Parish, Acadia Parish, Church Point. My wife's family is from the Church Point area, and she says you could swear it was people from Church Point speaking. With the, they still have that accent, and they still use the same vocabulary, word-wise. I was disappointed for when we got there, because the first thing I wanted to see was the sign, stop sign, saying "arrête," and it didn't have it. It had stop. Only if you go to Canada. If you go to Canada, it has arrête, but not in France. And we've done some, like I said, the private stuff that we were doing around here, and when I say around here, like Mississippi, Alabama, Texas. I played for the folks at NASA, at the Stennis Space Center in Mississippi. I did all their entertainment for 11 years. I did played with people in the audience, John Glenn, and many of the other astronauts that were there that throughout the years. James Cameron, the guy that with the Titanic, the one that produced it and directed it. Maury Povich, Dolly Parton, MC Hammer. I played where when they were there. So not there performing, they're watching us play. So it's I've gotten to one of the things that I liked the most about NASA was once we got to go and watch the shuttle booster rocket testing in Mississippi, and I was able to bring my grandson with us as a guest. So he got to come with me when he was about 9 years old. So we got to see that together, which was amazing. We were playing at a local restaurant here, DI's, on Highway 97 between Basile and Jennings. And this guy was there, and they were there on a fly-in. Those little different type planes, they were flying into Jennings. And they came and ate that night. And one guy says, I'd like for y'all to come to my hangar in Mississippi and play. So we got it, and we went play for that gig. And while we were there, he introduced me to the guy from NASA that was in charge of, I guess, public relations and people coming in, and because it's like another world when you get to NASA. You don't just walk in. So he says, I'd like to get you to come to NASA and do some work for us. So we went, and it was a good relationship for a long time. It was nice to have it in our list of references. NASA was always the first name on the reference list, because I figured, hey, if we play for NASA, you should be able to play for us too. So most of the people that we played for were for years. Like we played in Monroe and Mississippi, and most places were, if you looked on my reference sheet, was like, I'd always put how many years I had played for those people, like 12 years, 11 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it was. So it made it nice and impressive to whoever was trying to book us, that they saw that we wasn't just a fly-by-night thing. Whenever we went somewhere, we must have done a good job, because they kept hiring us. We did some, like with the Maury Povich thing, we did some big golf tournaments at big resorts, golf resorts and stuff. So that's why I say we were Cajun, and we went promote our music and our people and our culture and our music. But it was we never had to do it in a sense where we had to worry about having somebody there to come see us. People were there. All we had to do was entertain them. So I guess and I'm a pretty lazy musician. I don't like to practice, so I guess what we did was, that's the road I took when I decided to play music, was to be able to take it to where I didn't have to worry about that part of drawing people. I was doing a different thing. So when people ask, and we'd play Monroe on a Saturday night, where we played a Mississippi gig on Friday night, and I'd come back here, get up in Saturday morning, do my radio show, come back, take a shower, get in the van, and head out to Monroe and do a show that night. So when Sunday came around, it was time. We did a lot of, it was all weekenders. We did where we could travel because we had 5 guys in the van and everybody could take turns driving. So we didn't sleep in hotels. We didn't spend our money on the road. When we got back, we had our money in our pocket. I'm in the Hall of Fame in Cajun Music Hall of Fame in Lake Charles, and I've had some CFMA plaques for being on air and promoting Cajun culture and language and music. This past Mardi Gras, they named the music stage after me downtown here in Eunice, because I'm the one that started the stage 16 years ago to help build Mardi Gras. So back then Mardi Gras was just, here in Eunice, was just a Tuesday thing, and a Sunday boucherie they do. So we started adding a Saturday night dance, street dance, and then we added the Friday night, and then we added the Sunday for the kids Mardi Gras, and then we added the Monday night dance. So now it's like a 5-day festival. Right now Jeff Thibodeau on accordion, and I have John Prestine Giacomo on fiddle, Brian LaFleur on bass, and Robbie Pommier on drums, and myself. Yeah, I still have a group playing. We play every other Saturday at Rocky's Cajun Kitchen here in Eunice. That's as far as my travel goes, from one end of Eunice to the other. Every Wednesday night we do a jam session at Rocky's, yeah. I set up my equipment, and people come in, and then we have a composition book. Everybody signs up, and we put 5 or 6, 7 guys up there and gals, and let them play like 30 minutes. Then if there's another 7 in the group, the 7 sitting out there in the restaurant, we pull them up. So it's more like a little show type thing. We introduce them and bring them up and give them a chance to highlight, their instruments that they play. Some people come in there and play 3 or 4 instruments. So sometimes we just hop them around. They'll play on drums for a set or 2, and then they'll go back to bass, guitar, or accordion, or whatever. It's a nice way to showcase the local talent that don't get a chance to go out and play yet on a stage, where they can come up. A lot of bands have been formed at a jam session, because sometimes you'll get to play with 3 or 4 guys and you click, and then after that you hear about them and they have a band, So it works out good for that. About 27 years. With a 15-minute crash course to start. I had a guy that was supposed to train me, and he had called a football game the night before, so he slept in the corner in a chair. So I knew how to cue the record, and I knew how to stop it, and I knew that all I wanted to do was open that microphone and say that was Austin Pete or Maurice Balzar, and just go to the next song. I knew right then and there I didn't want to, overdo it, and until I could get. So everything I've learned after that was on my own. Believe me, I don't have 30 minutes of training in radio. I've done my show with a lot of different radio stations, because I don't actually work for the radio station. I broker my time, and then I go out and sell it myself, sell the commercials on it myself. So we do some English now because of the progressiveness of the some of them do half a song or a whole song, and they just use an accordion like Wayne Toops and Jamie Badger on them. They use, so we call it from Cajun classics to progressive Cajun music, and then I draw the line there somewhere. Some of the progressive stuff I don't go as far with. Only it has to be somebody from here, or somebody like Wayne, or like I said, Jamie and them, or Kevin Knockan and Steve Riley and them. They do different types of music, but they're still local guys playing Cajun music. So we play their progressive Cajun stuff. Because when people put Cajun in front, whether it's music or food or hot sauce, it's not always what we want to call it Cajun. It's just a Fred Charlie Cajun show. And we're online at www.mustang1071.com. Free streaming. You can get the phone app. You can download it for free from the App Store, and that way they can take us anywhere. So radio has evolved and changed so much to where, when I started radio here, basically Eunice, Maumuville, Platte, Basile, Church Point was listening to us. Now we have, I have people in Japan and Germany and, Canada and France, So it's kind of unbelievable how many people on Saturday mornings we have 9, 10 states sending us requests on the show. I mean, Texas is real big on it, but Texas, we have a lot of our Cajun cousins that's living over there, So, and in Louisiana, we usually have 40 or 50 towns in Louisiana sending us requests. So when I started radio, I promise you, I didn't think that many people would ever hear us. Now it's completely different. And it's like a lot of people our age that can speak French, but they don't. And I keep telling them, well, I used to be able to talk it, but I don't talk it enough. I said, it's in there. It's in that head. All you got to do is open that file. It's just like clicking on the mouse on it. You click it over there and open that file and start using it again. It'll come back to you. A prime example is my good friend, Mr. John Orr Young from the Chevrolet Garage here. Years ago when he came on my show and he was buying some commercials. So I said, why don't you come in and do your commercials with me live? He said, because Mamu was doing that at Fred's Lounge. They were doing that, Mr. Sadie Corville and Reeve and Reed and them, they'd sell a block ad, they'd call it, like 15 minutes brought to you by West Brothers, or brought to you by so-and-so. Back then it was Jitney Jungle in Mamu. Well, so he came in and he did the 15 minutes and he really liked it because there was some reaction because we were talking French on air. And so we went on for about a month or two like that. Then we upped it to a half hour. Then we upped it to an hour. And he stayed on my show for 18 years as my co-host for 1 hour. Every Saturday morning, he would purchase 1 hour. It was brought to you by John Orr Young. And we just speak French. And most of the guys that were in radio, Pete Bergeron, Jerry Dugas, Jim Swallow in Ville Platte, Mr. Fontenot in Opelousas, all of those people would call us and say, y'all have what is called a Cajun talk show. When John comes on, it's 1 hour of, we didn't talk about Chevrolets all the time. We talked about hunting and fishing and eating boudin and cracklings, and who you saw this week and, who you didn't see, or who you hadn't talked to in a long time, and it always worked. It really worked well. Because people still want to be able to, we don't visit. So this is a way they can sit there and they can watch that, and it's like you're there with them. And we got that compliment many times, John and I. People would say, it's like we're drinking a cup of coffee with y'all in the same room. So evidently, for not knowing what we were doing, it worked. And it's been a fun ride.